Today, Precarious plays
Phantom Brave. Let me see if I can line up a nice shot. Well, that was alright.
So, you were asking me about Final Fantasy Tactics
Advance. What could you remember about it? Because we did play the whole thing on the channel. Give me something about gameplay. What do you remember about the game that was being played?
I remember that it was on a grid.
Mm-hmm.
There were turns. You could cooperate with your allies. You could gather allies and also deny allies. And you could train up your allies by sending them on missions in their various jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And different jobs would allow them to learn different word for things. Skills. Was it skills, attributes, abilities?
Abilities. Action abilities, usually.
Right. So, a lot of times, the best thing to do for a unit would be to sort of plot out their career based on what action abilities you wanted them to have at certain points in the game.
Alright, you actually are remembering a lot more of this game than I imagined you would.
I remember the broad strokes, but honestly, if you put it in front of me and told me to point at...
Well, give me a specific example, then. Do you recall... what was the primary function of a Viera assassin? What was their thing? What was their trick that I used throughout the game? There are two acceptable answers. I'll accept either one. But I'm looking for a specific skill title.
Oh, I don't...
I mean, you can just describe the functionality as well. You don't have to remember the name, because that's not as important as what it did. There was a function that they could enact on foes.
Last breath, wasn't it?
Yes. And what did it do?
It killed people.
Right. Just instantly.
Yeah, I couldn't quite remember because I was like, was it that simple? I'm pretty sure it just kills people.
Yeah, so I mean...
That said, if you're trying to catch a monster or something, that wasn't useful.
You're remembering it much more clearly than I would have imagined you... I didn't think you would care to remember anything that specific.
I remember some things. I just don't know, like, if I sat down to play it, I would probably find myself going like, wait, where do I put the numbers in to make the number poop out to get assassin with last breath?
Right, well, yeah, but that's the kind of thing that I look up.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, I guess I wouldn't... Well, and the other thing is that if I sat down to play it, I would automatically go to, well, I don't play it the way that Rosman played it because I already played it that way.
So I'm gonna have a team of nothing but jugglers.
Yeah, and we're gonna juggle. I'm gonna build my circus team like I wanted to before, right?
It'd probably be a really good team.
If I built it correctly, which I wouldn't unless I had your help, which I always do because you're so nice. And I can bother him and be like, hey, Rosma. Hey.
Yeah.
Hey.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Where do I put the numbers in to make the jugglers come out?
Speed. The answer is always speed.
Okay. So yeah, I remember...
What game are we playing? Final Fantasy Tactics Advance? Speed.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that... I'm glad we played that game on the show because I think that there are a lot of important things going on in that game that are interesting and good to know and to have to compare to other things.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really care for it very much.
I would normally... Now I would not try to stack the these two games against one another because I'm such a fan of the strategy genre that just to keep everything straight, I have subgenre on top of subgenre.
I'll be like, it's a strategy title, and you'll be like, well, actually, it's more of a turn-based, flappy-do, super fantasy extra title.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that there isn't a grid in this one really puts it in a league of its own, because it feels more like you're sort of you're observing a melee.
Yeah, I bet if anyone
and strategizing.
I bet if anyone cared to go through the footage that we have, you could find me saying something like, it's a strategy something, and then etc. I bet that conversation exists.
Maybe, but the important thing is that as a child, if these two games came out at the same time, actually that's pretty solid, because if Disgaea, if I had already played Disgaea Hour of Darkness and Final Fantasy Tactics, if these came out at the same time, it would have definitely been a choice. I would have had to have picked one or the other. They would have been competing for that childhood strategy dollar.
Yeah.
So put yourself in that same mindset, and which do you think
This one.
you would have picked based on the pedigree and like the box art?
This one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Huh.
Like, I'm
I think that would have been a mistake, because I think that in their
it has
original
Wait.
I think in their original context, you have historically gotten more value out of portable games, laptop and handheld titles.
You said based on...
Put yourself in that context, I said.
Okay, based on the exact context that I was in when these games would have perhaps come out at the same time, I didn't have anything but a handheld, so I would have picked the one that went for the handheld.
That's not true.
Doy.
You had both. That's why it worked so well. You had
No.
access to a PS2 and a Game Boy Advance SP.
For a whole year, I only had a Game Boy Advance SP.
No.
I was there.
No.
I bought it with my monies.
Yeah, that doesn't.
my
You're
first
missing
job
the.
monies.
You're missing the point, though. I'm telling you
okay.
that both systems are available to you.
Well, if both systems are available,
Because otherwise, there's no conflict. There's nothing to decide because
okay.
the decision is.
If I had both systems available,
Well, I'm gonna get a copy of Phantom Brave and use it as a table coaster.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use it as an expensive frisbee.
When I had both systems available to me for the first time, I probably still would have gotten this one because I hadn't realized how much more I liked handheld games yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably would have gotten this one and then not played it nearly as much, but liked it a lot more.
Yeah.
That's what usually happens.
So the GameCube paradox, or the GameCube, what would that fit into? It's not a corollary.
Oh, I don't know what type of thing.
We'll say the.
Paradigm?
Well, I was thinking paradigm because the idea is that I have a very small number of much loved GameCube titles, and then I have about, no joke, maybe like 4 to 1, a 4 to 1 ratio of liked PS2 games to loved GameCube titles.
I think that if you stacked all of the hours that I've put into video games total, if you stacked them all up, console and PC games would probably be even, and handheld games would actually not be up to snuff at this point. Because I started out playing video games on PCs.
What if you make a division between computer, desktop and laptop games that you specifically played on one or the other, and then gave those PC titles that you played on laptops to the handheld category?
Then handheld would totally have it. I play video games when I can squish them in, and that usually means it must be convenient. Because if you count my cell phone as a handheld, I played all of Steven Universe and then part of Middle Manager of Justice, and I tried a few other games, but...
Yeah. Sometimes it's startling to think about for me,
Yeah.
but because for such a long period of time as a child, I was not allowed to play video games during the week,
Oh.
during school weeks. So I had to illegally play my Game Boy.
I remember that.
Well, that's a lot of HP value. So because of that, I have a ton of time invested in handhelds. Despite the amount of PC gaming and console gaming I've done, home console gaming, I don't think that together they could compete with, I think, Pokemon alone.
Yeah, we've calculated this before. You've probably spent a whole % of your life playing Pokemon.
I've spent enough time playing Pokemon that if you were to send some sort of chronology missile back in time, some sort of like magic needle that would just fly into the past and puncture me in my brain pan, there's a pretty good chance that I would die playing Pokemon. I think that we should beat this dragon in his complicated name. Ozymandias? Well, when you say it, it's not so bad.
He's a mini boss dragon.
But we'll wallop him and then we'll view the cutscenes on the morrow. Because I don't think he'll actually have that much fight left in him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Is he weak to wind? No, resistant. So we'll do a Helio shot.
Forget it.
No, it's just a one-digit number. I think if Morona hadn't gotten her crystal broken, she might be able to use her big crystal laser beam to end this.
Pop!
Oh no! That was way too much. Ash is at 13 and she's at 11 and he's at 16. I'll give it one. Hold on, let me double check. Status. Dragon Punch is free. Oh no. But his movement seems to be. Is his movement really that low, or is that the move that he had? Status move is 60. So if Ash can move, all right. So I'll give it 1, and I'll move Morona back here just in case. And she doesn't have Braveheart. Oh, okay.
All right.
So weak to fire. How is your fire value? Minus 50, so that means that ice is actually the better option. So we'll do a quick Mega Ice and see if this is the end. Oh. There's one thing that I know about dragons, and it's you don't want to be on the end of a dragon anything. I mean, it's like, I'm pretty sure that the order of operations is like Dragon Tail.
What about...
Then Dragon Punch, then Dragon Bite. You really don't want to be on the end of a Dragon Bite. You don't want to be on the end of any of them. But that was like stage 2, I wish I was somewhere else.
What about Dragon Kisses?
No, too hot.